Welcome back to this series of talks where we are discussing 5 gold nuggets for your life and for your career. So far in this series, we've looked at 2 of the gold nuggets. We talked about taking action. That's a gold nugget. You have to take action to get results. And then we talked about being useful, that gold has a lot of utility. And things that have a lot of utility, that are useful, have value. So if you want to have value in your life, in your career, in your business, we want to be useful. Well, let's return to California and the California gold rush. The word was out. This was a wild west, that it's lawlessness. You can do whatever you want. You can get out here, and anybody that finds gold, you can pick it up and it's yours. All you have to do, though, is get here and pick it up. Well, today we think that's pretty easy. Hop on a flight. You can be in California this afternoon, depending on where you originate from. But all you have to do is get here. Well, you can imagine how difficult that may be if you are on the East Coast, if you're up in Boston, and you've got to get all the way to California. So that's over 2,000 miles, very dangerous at that time. You might run out of water, you might run out of food. Do you know how to really lead a pack of horses, or to go over the mountains, or what do you do in a snowstorm? There's a lot of things that are challenges that ended up costing people their life. So the overland route was very, very difficult to make your way out there. I mean, people did it, of course, but it was very challenging. But you had that desire to get the gold. The other way you could go would be by boat. So you could be here on the East Coast of the US, from Boston all the way down to, Florida, and you could take a boat where you would go all the way south past Cuba, the Bahamas, around South America, all the way down to the tip of South America, all the way back up past Chile, through Central America, Mexico, and then you would get up towards San Diego and San Francisco and Santa Barbara. So that route was easier than walking, but it wasn't easy. It would take about 6 months in a boat around there. And again, you would have issues with food and water, and people would go crazy of boredom. It was, you're just sitting on a boat for 6 months, so that was really not a lot of fun, very challenging. But you had to have desire to do it, to get out there to get the gold. The third option would be, could speed things up a little bit, that you could take a boat from the East Coast of the US and come down to Panama, before the Panama Canal, come down to Panama, they drop you off, and then you would hike 60 miles through the jungle, and then people on the other side would pick you up in a different boat, and then they would take you back up to California. So it cut a lot of time off of the traditional sea route, but it was pretty challenging that you had to hike all the way through Panama and get to the other boat. Unfortunately, what happened a lot would be the boat on the other side that was to pick you up, it wasn't there. So you would get dropped off in Panama and say, go 60 miles that way, and you'd go 60 miles that way, and the boat that was to pick you up, either there was never a boat, you got conned, or the crews that were running the boat on that side said, well, why am I sailing back and forth picking up people that are gonna go get rich? I'll just stay here in California and pick up gold and I'll get rich. And so they didn't have enough crews to run that route back and forth. So some people got stranded in Panama and may never have gotten to California. Well, once you got to California to pick up gold, it wasn't as easy as they made it sound. It's never as easy as it sounds, right? Like most things in life. So you had 100,000 people approximately participate in the gold rush. And imagine people from New York, in Boston, the city life, or that people from Paris that made their way over, or from London, where there was a totally different culture, a totally different way of working, as opposed to living in a tent and picking up gold out of the river, or hoping to pick up gold out of the river. So you had 100,000 people that really didn't have a rugged background in roughing it, living outside, living in a tent, and picking up gold. So those folks were often called greenhorns. A greenhorn means that you're immature, that you are not experienced in this type of activity. Because a bull, imagine a bull, right, like a cow, a bull, when its horns first start to come out, they're a little fuzzy and they're considered green. So a greenhorn means you're new. So that's what they called these folks that got there. They thought they could just pick up a big hunk of gold and go on their way. There were stories about some French miners that were, they came all the way out. They had these rakes, like you're raking leaves. That's what they imagined or thought it would be like. They could just rake up the gold in these big piles. And that's not, of course, that was not how it was going to go. And then there were con men, some slimy con men that sold people, you put this magic cream on your feet and your hands, and you walk through the water and the gold will just collect. It's like a magnet for gold right on this cream. Well, the truth of the matter was, it was achingly hard work. Like this gentleman here, he had to sit there on your back and scoop out these pans of gold and pan them around and look for chunks of gold. And then you throw that out and do it again and again and again. So you imagine that repetition, how your back would get sore and your arms would get sore, and you may or may not find gold. A lot of it came down to just luck. But you had to be willing to make that commute. You had to be willing to get down by the water and look for gold. You had to be willing to do the work. You had to have desire and a willingness and to take action and to actually do the work. So our third gold nugget is desire and work. Desire and work. If you want something in your life, if you want a new credential, if you want to pass an exam, if you want a new job, you have to have desire, a real desire to make something happen. If you want to lose weight, that's one of my goals right now. I got a little chunky in my last few years. But if you want to lose weight, you have to have a desire. Which do you want more, to lose weight or to eat the ice cream? Sometimes ice cream wins, but you really need a desire. So I have to have a real desire. I have to see the value in what I am going to get in return for the work that I do. So desire and work. You have to be willing to do the work. Often though, the willingness may be there, but the action is not. So we go back to that first gold nugget. You have to take action. Then you have to have a desire for the result, and then you have to do the work. All right, great job. Keep moving forward.